Hey friends, happy November 1st. That means we are on day one of NaNoWriMo. For those of you who joined me yesterday for Preptober, your writing space, your ideal writing space should be ready to go and you are ready to dive in on NaNoWriMo. And I am here to bring you lessons every single day of the month to guide you through a book in a month process. This is only one approach to book in a month. I want to let you know that I know there are many. If you're a fan of the book Story Genius, you are very character led. I will be letting you know that I am honestly, as a writer, typically very character led when I'm writing my books. I know other people who are very research led. What approach we are planning to use this month, it's very plot based. This is plotter as opposed to pantser. So this is not by the seat of our pants, but it's also not that internal character driven approach that we're going to be using this month. It's going to be, you know what? Let's get the action out there. Let's get the drama out there. Let's get the connections out there. So I'm going to be walking you through sets of lessons. Each week we're going to focus on something a little bit different. This is my plotter based approach to a book in a month. So we have kind of four sections that we're going to be walking through in this first week of lessons. We're walking through idea and detail. These are going to be how do we actually build out the frame of our story. In week two, we're going to talk about bulk and believe. So imagine that on top of that frame, we're putting the drywall. In that third week of lessons, we're going to be talking about sequence and style. And that's going to be about how we make it our own. How do we bring our own design to it. That last week is transition and take apart. We're going to pull out the things that don't need to be there, and then we're going to rebuild it. We're going to put it together. We're going to make sure all of the different elements of the stories connect. And then in those last couple of lessons, because we have a little bit more than 4 weeks in a month always, those last couple of lessons are when we are going to be creative and we're going to decorate it. So if you look at this as a house, we got our frame, we're going to build it out, we're going to organize it. Excuse my sneeze. We're going to organize it. Then we're going to connect it. We're going to make sure that all of those joints are where they need to be. And then we're going to decorate it. So we're going to start with our framework. And this is lesson one from our idea and detail section of our plotter-based approach to writing a book. And the first lesson that we're going to be talking about today is something called writing from art. And this is if you came into NaNoWriMo that you either had zero idea about what you are going to write, or maybe you have a general concept that you need to flesh out a little bit more, but maybe you haven't done all of the world build, all of the character depth. This is you could start from zero today and we're going to dig in. So writing from art. So this is going to be a really simple, this is your first day lesson. I need you to do writing from art today. So first let's start with identifying what is art. For the purpose of your NaNoWriMo, for the purpose of lesson one in your NaNoWriMo month, art is whatever inspires. So for some of you, that might mean that art is literally a piece of art. It might be a visual piece of art. It might be a sculpture. It might be something that is a theatrical piece. It might be another written piece. It might be a song. It might be something, so it might be actual art. However, for some of you, art might be a moment in time that's frozen in your memory, and you can close your eyes and actually see that moment in time. For some of you, you might be able to look out your window like I can over here and see the beautiful snow that clung to the trees, so that we're kicking into the holiday season with winter ready and waiting for us. It might be a beautiful seasonal thing that you're seeing. For some of you, you might go, I really have no idea what I'm planning to write about, Red. So art is going to be for me whatever I'm seeing physically in front of me right now, wherever I am sitting. So art, again, for the sake of NaNoWriMo, for the sake of this lesson, art is whatever inspires. So, writing from art, step one, you're going to find your art, whatever that art is. Now, from that art piece, we are going to go through a few steps. We're going to go through 5 different steps that's going to help you create the very first semblance of a story framework that we are going to build on throughout this month. So, you've got your art. Your next step, your very first step with that art is to find the focal point, to who, where, or what in the art are your eyes drawn. Name it. So if I'm looking out here at my snow, my eyes might be drawn to the way that the ice and snow cling to the branch. That's where my eyes are drawn. It's very beautiful. It draws me in. So name it. So find your art, find the focal point in that art. Next, I'm going to identify the important objects in that art. Is something being held, pointed to, or maybe ignored? So let's say you're looking at a picture in your memory, that's what you've chosen as your art, and you can remember this time when you saw a family in a store and a little kid was tugging on his mother's sleeve and asking for a toy. Where are the important objects in that? So the important objects might be the sleeve of the mother. The important object might be the actual toy that the kid is pointing to. The important object might be a cart that's really overflowing with more important things like, food and clothing. Where are the important objects? Is there a mystery item implied through a shadow? Or maybe you're looking at a bedroom and there's a bump under the blanket. Just as you, the purveyor of the art, are going to have a focal point, what is the focal point of any characters who are in the picture? The object can be obvious or it can be hidden. So we've identified our art, we've found our focal point, we've identified our important objects within the art. Next, ask and answer questions. What are you left wanting to know? Ask the questions that are going to come to mind when you observe the art, and use your imagination to answer them because you're the writer, so you can do that. So ask and answer questions. So let's say my scene is, let's say I'm in a cafe. Remember we talked about sometimes that cafe is really the thing when you are a writer, even though it's a stereotype. So if I'm in a cafe and I see this cup of coffee that has not been picked up on the counter, the ask and answer questions might be, why isn't that coffee being picked up? Is that person here? Did they call it in ahead of time? Why did they not come? Is it because were they in an accident? All of these things. Let your imagination go wild. There is no right or wrong here. You are just coming up with concepts that you are going to be able to develop and flesh out for your story. So ask and answer those questions. Ask all of the questions that come to mind when you are looking at that art, when you are finding the focal point, when you're identifying the important objects in it. And then you as the writer, using just your imagination or maybe your experiences or maybe your own memories, you're going to ask and answer those questions. Next, I want you to write a caption. So if your art is frozen in time, what would be a caption that would capture that entire essence of what is going on? This sometimes could become the title of your work. Other times it's going to become the theme or the event or the goal or the action of your written piece. Imagine that this art that you are using as writing inspiration is the one thing you have to represent in the whole story. So come up with a caption. In the caption of that coffee left on the counter, it might be, Sam never showed up that day to pick up his coffee. Who knows? We're going to answer that question throughout. It might be in this scene here behind me, which I know I keep pointing to the wrong side of me. It might be winter allowed stillness to finally settle into her life. It might be when you see that bump under the cover, it might be a mystery, and it might be like the day that critter arrived. Beneath the covers was the last normal day. Sparky, whatever experience, I have no idea. I would never name a character Sparky unless it's a dog. But anyway, so we're almost done. We're at the 10 minutes points. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes. So the last thing is to define the story formula. So we have found our art. We have found its focal point. We've identified the important objects in it. We've asked and answered questions that come to mind. We've written a caption that kind of summarizes this moment in time that is frozen in the art that we have selected. So define the story formula is going to be the last thing. This is where the writing is really going to begin. You are going to use our chosen art, and we are going to identify CLAPS, CLAPS. What is the character? What is the location? What is the action? What is the problem? And what is the solution? So you don't necessarily need to have all of these figured out yet, but in your frozen art, what is coming to your mind? So is there a character in there? And I'm going to assume this is going to be your protagonist or main character. Where are they located? So this is going to generally be your setting. What action could be taking place in there? What problem might that character be facing? And you may not know yet what that solution to that problem is, but this is your day one activity. Walk through writing from art. That's it. One thing that you have to do today. It's going to take you about 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you that each day of NaNoWriMo, if you spend 15 to 30 minutes, that's it, you can actually create this book in a month. So NaNoWriMo, day one, writing from art. Identify your art, find the focal point, identify the important objects within that art, ask and answer questions that are inspired from that art, write a caption that encapsulates that entire scene, and define your story formula, the CLAPS, character, location, action, problem, and solution. That's day one. I kept you almost 12 minutes, so I have to let you go. Good luck, day one of NaNoWriMo. Love you guys.